My husband and I have 5 kids and our 2 youngest are autistic. And here are 5 fake signs of autism. What is the fake sign of autism? Well, it's a sign of autism that doesn't exist, which means it's not real, which means people think that that's a sign of autism and it's not. So we're going to be busting some myths today. I'm really excited to share with you. The last one is one, sadly, I thought was real myself way a long time ago in another life, years ago when I didn't have autistic kids and I didn't know any autistic people and hadn't had conversations with them. Stay at the end because you might have thought this was true yourself. The first fake sign of autism is autistic kids can't be social or can't socially interact. This is ridiculous, but I've heard it so many times. One time it was actually a conversation with a teacher. I was pointing out autistic traits of a certain child in her class who was about 5 years old. It was just one-on-one to the teacher. I really feel strongly that teachers should see those signs because it really helps them be better teachers for those individuals when they know how to support them. If a child's autistic and they're not diagnosed for years and years, that can be really difficult for that individual because they don't receive the support that a teacher should give them. So as I was describing these autistic traits in one of her kids in our class, she just brushed off everything that I said and she just said, no, he's not autistic, he's social. Why would you think that an autistic person can't be social? And in case you're one of those people who thinks that, here's some home video of my kids to show you just how social some autistic people can be.
We're gonna be twins! We're not chickens, but sit down. Sit down.
Like
Let us
chickens
hold
like
on,
eggs.
mommy. Yeah. Stop, you mean. Candy? Wow, that's so cool.
I noticed when Simon was just a little kid, even 1-year-old, he noticeably cared so much about what people thought, how they reacted to him. I think it's so important that parents and teachers and caregivers know about an autistic diagnosis because then they can better understand and better support that individual. A neurotypical kid might start yelling in a classroom because they want attention. But if that child's autistic, they could be yelling because they're overstimulated. Those are 2 very different scenarios, and the teacher should react very differently depending on the motivation behind that behavior. The behavior may look the same, but the cause or the trigger might be completely different. Just a thought. The second fake sign of autism is autistic kids cannot be affectionate. It's kind of similar to the other one, but this one I was told specifically by a doctor when my son Ezra was 1-year-old. He was holding him and he said, "There's no way that Ezra's autistic. Look how affectionate he's being." At the time, I was like, oh, really? You think so? And of course, I believed that person. Well, it was wrong. Ezra has level 3 autism. What do you know? Ezra was only 1-year-old at that time when the doctor assured me that there's no way my child's autistic. Simon was 1-year-old when we sold our house, moved into an RV, and we traveled to all the national parks in the USA. Yes, 7 people in an RV. We did that. We still have a lot of video to put up and share about our unique normal. Please consider subscribing. A lot of times these mistakes are made because someone sees one person who's autistic and they think, oh, that's what an autistic person is like. And then they see another person who's autistic and they're like, but you're not like that person, so I don't think you're autistic. Please don't make that mistake. When you meet one autistic person, you met one autistic person. It's definitely a spectrum. If you're wondering if your child's autistic, we have a free guide in the link in the description below called 12 Most Common Signs of Autism. Another fake sign or myth about autism is autistic kids can't learn. When I think of my sons, Simon and Ezra, there have been times where people in their life who were supposed to help encourage them and support them just decided that they couldn't learn. That's simply not true. Ezra has been learning and progressing at his own pace, but he has learned so much. He's learning how to spell now and point to letters and spell words, which is amazing. Ezra, our 8-year-old, has level 3 autism. He's completely nonverbal. The only word he really says is mama. He was actually saying it last night in the car over and over again. It was really cute. Ezra also has apraxia of speech, ADHD, and possible OCD. Simon has level 1 autism and no intellectual delays. And so, of course, Simon and Ezra's needs and support are going to look really different. And they can both learn. I've had professionals completely give up. I've had a whole, I won't go into that, but I've had a BCBA completely give up on potty training him. Well, I'm not giving up because I know he can learn. The important part to know as a parent, caregiver, or teacher is how to support that child the best way to help them learn. Whether you're autistic or not, when you have high anxiety, then you're not going to learn as well. When you're overstimulated, when you're constantly distracted, when you're having a hard time because of the environment in some way, or because the social anxiety is just too high, then those things need to be taken out of the equation so the child can have a better experience, be supported, and learn. And a lot of these kids aren't as severely autistic as my son Ezra. They may just need the lights dimmed down. They may just need a different seat or a schedule that they can visually see and depend on that doesn't change all the time. The needs vary depending on the child, but even these small changes can truly help support an autistic child to learn. And no one should ever say that they can't learn just because they're having a difficult time learning in the environment that you put them in. All right, moving on. That was kind of a rant. Sorry, not sorry. Comment right now below if you thought of another fake sign of autism. Maybe someone that said to you, oh, your child can't be autistic because they blah, blah, blah. Fill in the blank, put it down, and you never know who you might bless with your comment. Now, fake sign number 4 is that all autistic kids want to be alone, or they'd rather be alone. That would be their choice all the time. That's just not true. Even Ezra, who's at level 3 autism with an intellectual delay, and he has a really hard time being social and being in crowds, he wants to connect with people. And it might look different. Okay, it does look different than usually you would expect, but I've experienced that so many times where he's come up to me and sat behind me back to back and he's held my hand. He'll take my hand and go like this. You can see right here. He wants to be with me. He'll often take my hand and do things with me. Even when he has a choice to go in his room alone, he will choose to come into the family room where everyone is. And there's 7 people in our family, so that's a big group. My 2 autistic kids want to be social. They want to be involved. They also don't want to be pushed into social situations. Ezra and Simon do enjoy their alone time, but more often than not, they choose to come with us when we do social things. Please don't think that autistic kids always want to be alone. Please don't shut them out all the time. If they do want to be alone, then yes, please let them. But give them opportunities to be social in situations where they're comfortable, where they can be themselves and not mask all the time. If you don't know about masking, I'm not going to go into it today, but we have a video here, 12 examples of autistic masking. I can shed some light on that. Now, number 5, the one that I got wrong all those years ago, and so many people get wrong. Autistic kids can't sit still. That's wrong. Look at these kids. This is Ezra right here. And this is Simon. See how focused Simon is on coloring. It's actually one of his intense interests. He can not only sit for the whole hour at church, but he can sit for way longer than a neurotypical kid if he's coloring or doing a puzzle. It's true for ADHD too. People think that, oh, if a kid has ADHD, it means they can't sit still. That's so wrong. My kids with ADHD, if they're sitting still for a long time, it means they're doing their intense interests, and it means I should not interrupt them. Don't interrupt. Do not. It's a bad idea. And in case you're wondering, if we take our autistic kids to church, we actually did a whole video right here. Should you take your autistic kids to church? And here's our autism playlist. And remember, if you have an autistic child, you're in good company.